Hello, hello, Mr. Eddie C. How are you?
I'm doing good, Mr. Chris P. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing okay. I'm doing okay. I'm excited to talk some racing. We kind of took a weekend off last week from doing picks because we had a great show with Barry and Chuck, and that was a lot of fun from last week. If you didn't see it, go back on the YouTube channel, watch it back. That's the great news about the internet. But I'm excited to actually cover some picks, go through the pace sheets, and talk a little bit about everything going on. So first off, Eddie, how's everything going? I know the hurricane hit; it was tough. Um, what's the latest on the hurricane down there?
It's going to be a very long recovery circumstance down here. There's this bridge that connects in the Myers area from Sanibel to Captiva called the Causeway, and they lost about a 15-foot section. They fixed it, and the hope is that the structure of the rest of the bridge is sturdy enough because they're already using trucks to drive back and forth to bring supplies and clean up. But it's I don't want to overstate it, but the Fort Myers Beach area as well as Fort Myers proper and the surrounding cities in Captiva and Sanibel Islands. It's pretty bad. I don't want to compare it to Katrina because I know Katrina was terrible, but it's not far off that. But it's on par. But and then here where we are, we still haven't had the cleanup crews to come up and pick up the downed trees and things like that. But most of the structures here are okay. But we're moving forward. Businesses have opened back up here, but I still pray every day for the Fort Myers Beach, Sanibel, Captiva areas.
No, no doubt, no doubt. Is it the birds in the background there saying, getting a little excited this morning, or what?
Well, it's a little bit later than we did last time, but yeah, I'm sitting outside here on the patio and enjoying 78-degree weather. So.
Well, welcome to New England, where it's actually pretty mild up here the past couple of days. So it's we'll see. But listen, I want to give some good news, and I guess it depends on what side of the glass, or you're half full, half empty type of thing. But something that I'm pretty excited about being a New Englander. When Suffolk Downs closed down, I think it's been about 4 years now, maybe even longer. I don't know. I lose track of time. But when Suffolk closed, we lost all thoroughbred racing in New England, which at one point you could have made the case that, this was the capital of thoroughbred racing back in the day. So some good news that, it's on the table that they are looking at adding a track. Imagine that, adding a track, not, taking a track away or closing a track, adding a track in Massachusetts. And I can probably spin on and talk for 45 minutes just on this topic, but I was excited because yesterday I thought it was going to the vote with the selectmen, and then I pulled the news up and I realized that they delayed the vote for 2 weeks. So I'm really excited about this. I know it's going to be turf racing. There's some concerns obviously from a small town doing this, but it'll be like an hour for me, and to have thoroughbred racing potentially back in New England, I'm pretty jacked up about this, Eddie.
I think it's fantastic news. I think New England needs to have a track up there, especially when, over the last 4 or 5 years, all we've heard about is tracks closing. So I think this is great news for the industry. And I wouldn't be surprised when that track opens that SB Nation, Sean, ends up cutting the ribbon for the grand opening.
Absolutely. But yeah, it's interesting when you go to Saratoga and you sit down in the backyard and you just look around and observe. It's amazing how many Red Sox hats, Celtic hats, Patriot shirts you see out there. And not that there's not Patriot fans in New York, don't get me wrong, but listen, a lot of people from New England love to go to Saratoga, and I think it's win-win, because when I used to go to those the Suffolk Downs used to have those little weekend meets. The place used to be packed, but I think it's a great thing to have a novelty racing for, whatever they're looking at doing here for the fall after Saratoga's done. I think it's awesome.
I think so too. I mean, I was fortunate when I heard that Suffolk was closing. I made a trip to Suffolk Downs, and really cool track. And like you said, it's packed with people. So it reminded me of not to disparage because it's one of my favorite tracks, but it reminded me a better version of Tampa Bay Downs.
Oh, okay. I can see that. I mean, it was pretty worn down at the end, but that goes with the territory. But let's talk a little bit about notebook picks. So last weekend, you were on fire, my friend, last week with the notebook picks. I don't know what you're doing. I think I got your secret, though, and I'm looking for a sponsor ready. You know what I'm drinking this morning, right?
V8 juice?
I'm drinking V8. So if anybody's wondering, how do you pick more winners? The secret is you got to drink a big glass of V8 juice. It makes the brain start moving faster, and you can handicap faster. That's the secret here, right?
I drink V8 every morning with 1 or 2 bananas. That's every morning. Yeah, we the notebook picks, well, I guess it's now been almost 3 weeks ago at Keeneland. We had a big day Saturday, and then last week at BAQ or Royal Aqueduct, as I like to call it. As you know, we only use 2 picks, and we had, out of 22 races of those 2 weekends, 9 winners, 13 horses ran second. We hit a few exactas, but I mean, we hit 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 winners that paid $10 or more. So really hot start, and hope to be able to continue it this Saturday at Royal Aqueduct and at Keeneland.
Awesome. That's fantastic. And just want to make sure everybody knows that if you go to PaceSheets, this is a cool thing too, Eddie, and I don't think I told you this before, but when you actually type in Google, type PaceSheets, for me anyway, PaceSheets is the first thing that actually comes up, and it actually shows notebook picks, and it actually shows a bunch of things. So just want to share, there's the website, PaceSheets.com, if you haven't been there yet, and it's pretty easy to navigate. Yeah, the button right here takes you right to the store. If you want to go and see what's on there, obviously we've been putting everything on there for free. My iPad's a little slow this morning, like me. And then when you go down and you look at, this is whatever the feature track is, you'll see it right here. Today, Friday, Keeneland is already up. So if you haven't gone in and already downloaded it, what's wrong with you? You need to go and download the PaceSheets. And then tomorrow, Saturday, we will have Keeneland and BAQ available to anybody that goes on there. So there's some cool tabs in the top, but site's looking really good. Really liking what I'm seeing as we get closer to the Breeders' Cup. And Eddie, I know you can ask me the question: how many days until the Breeders' Cup?
Ooh, I would just go ahead and say maybe 21 days.
Yeah, if you forget, it's actually right on our little part on our tab with the racing news. I'm counting it down. 21 days, 2 hours, 59 minutes, and 19 seconds, my friend.
Can I just say something about the Breeders' Cup real quick before we move on? For anybody that's listening, if you do not think Epicenter has a chance to win, I can't help you. Epicenter does have a chance. If Flightline runs, Epicenter probably runs second because Flightline is a freak of a horse and seems to be a very special horse. But don't leave Epicenter out of anything.
I certainly agree with that. Epicenter's you can't measure heart. I told you that, Eddie. You can't measure heart in a PP, right?
Nope, you can't. And
Epicenter has a ton of heart. He's a winner.
Well, he's won, I think, 4 graded races in a row.
Absolutely. No, he's a winner.
No, that's not true. No, he won. He won the Risen Star, the Louisiana Derby, and then he won. Then he came second in the classic races, and then he won the Dandy and the Travers. Okay, yeah, that's right. I remember the last 2. So, yeah, I'm excited. I think Epicenter is, my opinion, I think is the best of this crop. I get the whole Flightline thing, but little secret, I've already looked into the future.
I've already seen kind of what the Breeders' Cup is going to look like and what the pace setup is. So I'm not going to. We'll save that for another rainy day. But I see some potential here that may be able to beat the favorite. We'll see. We'll see. I'll have to sleep on that a little bit, Eddie.
It just depends who goes to the front with Flight. If Flightline goes to the front, or if Life is Good goes to the front, and if there's another speed horse that presses, Flightline might not get the same comfortable trip that it's had in the past. And I'll take Joel Rosario on Epicenter. Turning for home, coming from off what should be a pretty quick pace, and see what happens.
Okay. No. So let's get in this. It is a little quiet from the racing standpoint with, obviously Breeders' Cup is 3 weeks away. We go through this every year. I know there's still some good races out there. There's 2 graded stakes races. There's one at Keeneland and there's one at Aqueduct. And I wanted to tackle both with you and see what we have, share our opinions and everything. So which one do you want to start at, Eddie? I'll give you the choice.
Well, if you don't mind, let's start at Belmont, because I do want to touch on race 6 at Belmont, which is a maiden special weight, a mile and a 16th on the turf.
Okay, let's start there then.
Yeah, there's a horse I really like in that race. And let me just pull up. So there's a horse, the 8 horse, that's called Unexpected Outcome. This is a horse that's Chad Brown and Manny Franco jockey trainer combination. People, when you look at this, that combination is hitting at 34% first and foremost. So really something to look at. This horse is out of More Than Ready. That is obviously turning out to be a really great young sire. Out of a Galileo mare. This horse is regally bred for the turf. He was 4-1 first time out, and that's going back to January. And he finished a tiring 3rd. Really steady works since then. His last 3 4-long works have all been 49 or 49 and change. And if you look back to his 3 back to his workout, he ran 49 flat out of the gate, which is a fantastic workout. 6-1 morning line. I think this horse is ready at a nice price. I'm going to use this horse on top over the. I don't do this often, but I'm going to play a try, and I'm going to key the 8 on top of the 1, 4, 6, 10.
Okay, I like it. So, obviously the Chad Brown stuff is happening there. Chad doesn't use? Well, I guess actually, I stand corrected. He uses Manny Franco, doesn't he? Because he's got 55 starts with him the past 60 days. So.
Yeah, and Chad actually also has the one horse in this race, a horse called Bobby D that Trevor McCarthy's riding, who may end up being the favorite in the race.
Okay.
Well,
good.
Anyhow, I like that 8. I watched the race a couple of times. He got, he was a little bit green, didn't want to go in between horses. So that's, if I can get 6-1, that's, a nice price to start the day.
Yeah, I'll show you on the PaceSheets, Eddie. I just actually been doing some cosmetic changes and tweaking things. And as you guys all know, this is it's almost like a beta test. So I'm still working towards getting some different things done, making it look the way we want it to look. But are you saying the comments are not always right on these PPs? Is that what you're telling me?
Well, it says poor speed figure and only start. It was a poor speed figure, but he still finished 3rd. And he finished 3rd because he ran green. It was his only start. Didn't want to go in between horses. And it was back in, what did I say, back in January? Yeah, back in January at Tampa. So this is we're talking about 10 months later. I think the horse, based on his works and connections, gets a good jockey switch to Franco. So.
Okay, I like it. I like what you're thinking there. You're the mating guy. That's for sure. So let's get into since we're already at BAQ Belmont at Aqueduct, let's cover their big race. Eddie, is the Grade 2 Sands Point. It's a turf race, mile and an 1/8. What are you thinking on this one?
In this one, I mean, this is a pretty contentious race. I mean, there's some really good horses in this race. I could make an argument for the 1 Skims. I could make an argument for the 3 Eminent Victor. Even the 4 and the 5. It's a really contentious race. And then you also have the 9 Pizza Bianca, who is arguably maybe the best horse in the race. I think that horse is going to end up going off as a favorite. I landed on the 2 horse, Vergara. Rosario in Motion is the jockey trainer combination there. Obviously, you got to respect both of them. Rosario rode him his last time out, and he won. So and he stays on the horse. I think that means something. He came second at Woodbine in the Grade 2, and he just got caught at the wire 2 races back. He was 9-5 in that race that he won with Rosario last time out. So, he wasn't 9-5. That was on September the 5th. But 3 steady works since there. And once again, out of a Galileo Sire and a Street Chimere, there's not a better bred horse for the turf in this race. So, and I think we're going to get a little bit of value. He's 9-2 morning line. So I just landed on that horse. And again, I'm going to play a try, and I'm going to key the 2 over the 1, 3, 5, 9. And depending on the value of the odds of the 9 horse and the 2 horse, I probably will play a 2-9 exacta box. But I think for me, the race is 2-9 and with the 1, 3, 5 underneath.
Okay, I got a little stat I'm going to throw at you. I just pulled this up right here. Remember all the tweets that were going out? How were the Kentucky Derby, the Kentucky Downs shippers going to Keeneland? How were they? Remember that?
I do remember seeing all that, yeah.
It was positive, though, right?
Yeah, very.
Yeah. So just so you know, before yesterday, Kentucky Downs shippers are 2 for 47, Eddie. 2 for 47.
How about that?
How about that? Tweet that out.
No, I'm not going to stir the pot. I'm going to leave that alone.
Tweet that out. And listen, I'm the same way here. This is a contentious race for me. Contentious races, I'm certainly not playing favorites because I would take a shot. Do I love Pizza Bianca here? Absolutely. I mean, Pizza Bianca is the class of this group when you go back and you look at it. Pizza Bianca makes a ton of sense. Wouldn't surprise me if, Pizza Bianca flies by everybody late. I certainly can see that. The horse that I really like that I spent a lot of time on looking is this 1 horse Skims with Johnny V and Shug McGahee. And when I was looking at this, Eddie, first off, very competitive. This is a Grade 2 race. The horse has finished 3rd a couple times. I don't like the fact that, I finished 3rd the one time it raced the distance. But, there's that horse Frankel is the sire. And, Street Cry is the sire of the dam. I'm just looking at some different things here. Just got beat last time coming from our track, Kentucky Downs. But that concerns me a little bit on the stat I just threw at you. But I was looking at this one. I'm just trying to find a price here. And one of the things that we did talk about earlier is we talked about the PaceSheets. And hang on a second. Let me get to the summary. I thought I had it all set up and queued to go. When you look at the PaceSheets and you look at what this race looks like, this is what it looks like on paper. Now, the interesting thing here is I want to just point out a couple things. Now, first off, always look at the projected pace because that's what may shift you to say, hey, maybe I can catch a price on a late speed horse.
Sure.
So early speed-wise, if that's your thing on a mile and an eighth in the turf, it probably wouldn't be my thing on there. The 8 horse has got the best early speed by quite a bit. So it's New York. Don't all the horses in New York always go wire to wire anyway? Every race I watch, it seems like they let somebody get loose in the lead and they take off. So who knows? That could be a possibility, I guess. The best total pace horses, in my opinion, are the 3 and the 5. So just looking at stats, I'm looking at this total pace, 3 and the 5. That's who I like. That's who I like here. Am I looking at the right race here? No, I don't think I am. This isn't a Sands Point, right?
It's the ninth. Yes, the ninth race. I can't see if that's the ninth race on top of the.
It is. It is. All right. I just wanted to make sure I'm looking at this because I see pizza.
It's the race rate.
So
it's the right race.
The favorite here, you said already at 5-2 is Pizza Bianca. I'm just saying that Pizza Bianca doesn't look like a 5-2 in comparison to this field. Yeah, you're going to get.
The interesting thing about Pizza Bianca is it hasn't run since it ran at Royal Ascot.
Mm-hmm.
And how long ago was that? That was back in June. But again, it's a turf race, and I think layoffs don't bother me on the turf. So you might be able to get a price on Pizza Bianca, but again, based on your pace sheets here, it looks like maybe it's going to run second or third.
Yep, I don't know. To me, coming off a layoff, and there's a couple of things I want to show down below. So first off, the 5 has the best late kick, and when I'm looking at this again, I'm going with a 1. This is my pick. It is the biggest bubble, by the way, just for the record. But I want to show you something that has worked well for me that is in the list here. So I don't want to take the names out so you can see this. So first off, I just told you, added the comments in there so you can see the trouble. This weekend, I'll actually have that stuff highlighted. The other piece of this is I want to share the form. Again, horses in form or out of form don't usually win races, right? So when you look at this, I'm looking at the number is the days since the last race. And you're right on the money, Eddie. It's been 120 days since Pizza Bianca ran last. When you see the star, basically what that's telling me is, and there's an old school reference when it comes to looking at form, either A, you're within the leader in the stretch, or if you're dropping in class and you showed early speed last race. Those are a couple things that I look at. So again, it's just another stat, another number, a quick reference that if you see a horse that you feel like is in form, you see the star, that's a good thing. But there's one thing I want you to really pay attention to is when you see both the star and you see that horse is top 3 in both speed last race and top 3 in distance, you see both of those things, a star and an X. I want you to really get excited about that one. Now, a lot of times it may be chalk, but you'd be surprised how many times it's not. Well, those are some of the best bets.
Absolutely. And look, when I selected the 2, because as I said, he's out of a Galileo Sire Noble Mission, out of a Street Cry Mare. Well, so is the 1. The 1's out of Frank Ulwich. Everybody, some people think that he's the greatest horse ever, and who's out of Galileo, and he's also out of Royal Decree, which is a Street Cry Mare. So the 1 and the 2 make all the sense in the world.
Okay. So, but it's contentious, right? I mean, you would agree on that. It's contentious here, and getting 5-1 morning line on the 1, 2's 4.5 to 1. What's the 9? The 9 we just said is a favorite, 5-2. And the other one I liked here was the 5, who's 8 to 1. Now, being a closer, I just told you the form and last race distance. Don't forget about the 5. Could be sneaky.
I told you I like the 2 with the 1, 3, 5, 9, and depending on the value will depend on what exactas I play.
All right. So I think I'm just saying that any of these horses can win. Bet a price.
Absolutely.
Okay. Get some value there. So, all right. Anything else you want to talk about? What do you call it? Royal Aqueduct?
Royal Aqueduct.
Aqueduct.
I stole that from somebody, and I forget who I stole it from, by the way.
All right. So let's take a shift now. Let's go a little bit to the west. Let's go to Keeneland. You've already checked the weather. You said the weather's going to be nice over in Kentucky this weekend, right?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
It's going to be chilly in the morning, but it's going to warm up into the 60s. Right.
Those people don't know what chilly is, Eddie. Come on. They don't know what chilly is.
Well, you're in New Hampshire.
Just keeping it real. Just keeping it real. They don't know what chili is.
Well, I may have to go back up to my cabin to experience the chill because I'd like to go up there and throw the fireplace on and you know.
Well, maybe we'll just swap. You know what? If you're that hungry for it, let's just swap spots, and I'll just go to Miami for the winter, and then you come up here, shovel snow.
Well, we could do that for a week or two.
All right, let's talk a little Keeneland. The Keeneland one here is the Queen Elizabeth II. So I wanted to make sure it wasn't just the first, Queen Elizabeth II, grade 1, another one at a mile and 1/8 on the turf. So that seems to be the theme on the graded stakes this weekend. But what do you like here in this 9th race? Because actually this one here's got some it's got some classy horses in it.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I think it's you got to beat the 6 horse McCulloch. Again, just you got Chad Brown with IRAD on board. Out of Frankel, which is again Galileo. Out of a McPhee mare, regally bred horse. His last 3 races kind of jump off the page. He won the grade 1 Belmont Oaks, Saratoga Invitational. He just fell short, came second. And then he won the Oaks Invitational at Belmont, grade 3 race. So he's the class of the race. The 7 horse Paris Peacock to me makes
Hey Eddie,
sense.
Can you put a pause for 1 second because I want to. So McCulloch originally was my top choice before I looked at any odds, before I had any morning lines. Something for the listeners and something for my benefit. I want to know when you look at McCulloch, who's even money, deservedly to be the favorite. Poke some holes in McCulloch for me that says that maybe he's not a lock.
Well, for me, first off, it's a mile and 1/8, and that's shorter than he's run his last few races. So, and he's a closer, or she's a closer, I should say. So that's one of the reasons I'm going to try to beat the horse. That to me is the biggest hole that it has. And if you want to nitpick a little bit, his last 2 races, he's only run against 5 and 6 horses, even though in this race there's only 7. So, but that could be another knock. And maybe the other one is, the only other one I would say is that Keeneland's kind of a tight turning track compared to Saratoga and Belmont, where he's been running. So, I can't pick too many holes, but those are areas of concern for me. But the biggest one is the distance.
Yeah, and listen, I agree with you. I mean, it looks great on paper. I just would look at it. I mean, the horse is 2 for 5 this year. I mean, that's not lock territory for me. And then the other thing I look for, I mean, the horse is probably the best bred, I think, for this distance, right? I mean, it's certainly bred for a distance like this, but the horse did finish second, hasn't proven that it's won at the distance. So all those question marks that pop up in your head, those are the things I think you would take and go back and say, well, I think I can play to beat this one, maybe.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think the 4 horse is just a cut below. Well, here, let me just go to this. I landed on the 5, Bella Bell.
Mm-hmm.
This horse, D'Amato and Rispoli, trainer jockey combination, they're at 22%. Rispoli, I believe, came out to ride this horse from California.
He did.
So, obviously, and for people that don't know Rispoli, he is one of the up-and-coming young jockeys and arguably one of the top 5 turf jockeys in the country at the moment. And I could argue maybe top 3. He won the grade 2 San Clement 2 back. He won a stakes race 3 back, and then he just missed, came second in his last race in the Delmar Oaks, which is a Grade 1. He came second to Spenderella. If Spenderella was in this race, she would be 3 to 5, maybe 2 to 5, maybe. I mean, she'd be a standout favorite in this race. So, Spenderella's top class. This is an improving horse. It's also improving 3-year-old horse, as all of these are. But I laid it on the 5, and I'm going to play the 5 over the 6. And I may even sprinkle in the 4 and 7 if I'm having a good day. I may sprinkle in the 4 and 7 in exactas or something like that, just for price purposes, and maybe leave the 6 out altogether.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know if leaving the 6 out is probably the best strategy in my eyes, but originally I know we had Barry and Chuck on last week, and I said to them, what makes you guys different than everybody else? And Chuck's response was, well, we're not full of shit. So one of the things I'll tell you is, I just keep it real as a horse player. And I'll tell you that when I handicapped this race without morning lines, I was 6'2". And then I went back and looked at it. So listen, we're on a lot of the same horses. The first thing I do whenever there's a turf race at a distance like this is I go back and I look and see how many Chad Browns are in there and Mike Makers. That's the first thing I do in my mind when I handicap a turf race is I want to see the Chad Browns and I want to see the Mike Makers. So I want to share this. I want to make sure I got the right race this time. All right, here we go. No, this is the 15th. Boom, right here. So let me share the screen here, Eddie. And I don't think the 5 is going to be that much above and beyond the 6, but everybody that's been using this stuff and has been looking at the pace sheets and has been using this information, how beneficial it is to find that corner horse and when there's a gap and how big a deal that is. Exactly. I was really surprised when I looked at this because I thought, if anything, the 6 was going to be where the 5 is on this sheet. That's what I thought.
It's amazing, Chris, because I say this and I hope people believe it because I know you believe it because you actually sometimes get frustrated with me on this, but I do not look at the pace sheets before I do my handicapping. And then what the pace sheets does for me is it either reinforces my picks or it gives me something else to look at, and then I combine it with my handicapping. And that's why the last 2 Saturdays I've had such good days because now I'm understanding the pace sheets better and I'm using them better. And when I see gaps like this, I didn't notice that the 5 was going to be that big of a gap, and that reinforces my pick on the 5.
Yeah, and just on top of that, what you just said, I completely agree with you. I think the other piece of it too is, when I look at this stuff, it's data, it's information. If it was the holy grail, we could all just do horse racing 24/7, right?
Right.
What it does for me is I like to handicap old school, looking at the things that are important to me as a horse player, my experience. I see patterns really well, trainer intent. I'm thinking of all this stuff. What it does for me is it recalibrates me. So when I have, I may have 2 horses, 3 horses. I think the other day I just noticed I had 3 horses in the top. And I said, this is a 3 contender race. When I went back to the pace sheets and I looked at it, what it did for me is I had the ability now to actually scratch out a couple horses and said, well, you know what? I'm not feeling as good about that horse as I was 15 minutes ago. I'm going to take him out and I'm going to take him out. And actually I said, you know what? I'm just going to roll with my gut. That's my top pick. That's what the data tells me. And I said, if I'm going to roll on a pick 5 ticket, I am going to single this horse. That's a chance I'm going to do. And what it did for me is instead of having a pick 5 ticket for $48, I was able to narrow that ticket down to, I think it was $6.
Your screen went dark.
Screen went blank. But yeah, I was able to narrow my ticket down, and that's what you got to be thinking about: is how can this save you in the long run with figuring out, is this horse really what I want to double the price of my whatever ticket for? Do I believe in this horse that much? Or I like this horse anyway, and on paper, it looks the best. That's what I want to do, is maybe single that horse. And again, it can save you a lot of money in the long run as a horse player. Sometimes it's not about, I guess it is about winning and losing when you think about it. But sometimes it's about structuring tickets and making sure you've got the right bets in there.
Well, I totally agree. I think the pace sheets and looking at the data has definitely helped me in structuring. As far as, keeping the price of my multi-race wagering at a lower cost for me. And it's also helped me hit a couple, or several, I should say. So definitely something of value there, and that's well said on your part.
Yep, and remember this race is showing no pace, which typically benefits back speed. When you look at the bottom, I'm looking at the form here, and when I look at the form, I mean, every horse here is in form. I mean, I don't have a question about that. Just want to call out, is that R5, Eddie? It is R5, Bella Bell. So I don't talk anybody off. I'm just saying you better include this horse because the form is there, the things match up, and at the horse is the only one in the field. And this is the other good thing about PaceSheets. It does a field comparison. So when somebody scratches or somebody comes out, well, maybe another horse pops into something else. The 5 is the only one that's top 3 in both last race speed and at this distance. So
no, that's fantastic.
I just want to call that out too.
Well, obviously we want to get a lot of viewers, but hopefully we don't want the viewers to hammer the 5 and take the odds from 5-1 down to 3-2.
You know what? That's a good point. Eddie, why are we talking about this stuff? Because you know what? I'm going to be betting this race. I just thought about that. Why?
Well, it's we do this for the people, Chris. That's why.
We are. You know what? We're men of the people. That's right. And again, if we're looking for a sponsor, here's my V8. I've been drinking my V8, and when I have my V8 tomorrow morning,
I'm on to water now.
You've gone on to that. Well, here's what I've got a combination of that, and then I got my other sponsor that's here is America runs on Dunkin', Eddie.
Yeah, I saw you tweet out that somebody either had never went to Dunkin' Donuts for the first time or something like that. And
what planet are you from?
Well, you got to realize Dunkin' Donuts is huge in the Northeast. You literally cannot walk in Boston. You cannot walk 2 blocks and not see a Dunkin' Donuts.
I have 4 Dunkin' Donuts within a quarter mile of my house.
Yeah,
I would have to.
I have 2 in Florida that are within like a half a mile of my house, but there's many more Starbucks down here than there is Dunkin' Donuts.
Shame. If I ever have to move, that's going to be like the first thing I pull up. Those people look at like schools and everything and make sure they have quality schools for their kids. Not me. I just want to make sure there's like a Dunkin' Donuts within striking distance.
Oh, I mean, priorities, Chris, priorities.
I hear you. What else you got, Eddie?
No, man, I'm just kind of looking forward to a more relaxing weekend from a racing standpoint to where, and primarily because there's some great college football games this Saturday. The pro football slate isn't that great, but I'm just gearing up. I can't keep looking at the Breeders' Cup enough. I'm doing my homework, and just so people know, I don't just put out notebook picks. I do my homework. These are my notes for today on these 3 races. So I do write notes and do my homework. And like I say, I watch replays. I promise everybody out there, write notes about horses. Look at their workouts. Look at their last couple of races. Look at their breeding. And then watch the replays. And then after you write all your notes on it, then re-handicap the race on race day. And I promise you that'll, and also use PaceSheets. Don't forget about using PaceSheets.
Yep. And then the last thing I just have, again, remember, the website is up and, it's a work in progress, but I want to make sure subscribe. If you haven't subscribed, it's completely free. All you have to do is key your email address in, because subscribers are going to get some benefits here over the next couple of weeks where they are going to get tracks that other people are not going to be able to get. So I just want to make sure I call that out to everybody. If you haven't subscribed, you're going in, taking a look at us, read a tutorial. The other thing is, hey, listen, we're here to help you. If you struggle with this, or don't understand something, or something, sharing experiences, or you have a great idea on something you'd like to see, please share it with us. Love that stuff and love the feedback that everybody's been given. So, Eddie, I think with that being said, I just hope everybody has a fantastic weekend of betting horses, and hopefully whatever, you're doing, hopefully horse racing just takes your mind off the day-to-day nonsense that we all go through every day. So I hope everybody has a fantastic weekend again. And thanks for joining in. We appreciate you. We'll see you next time.
Appreciate it, Chris.
Give me the Rosario hands up. I can't do anything until you give me the Rosario.
What, you mean this
Yeah,
like that?
That's right. Exactly like that. Have a good weekend.